Fit in 10 Nation, it is day 48 of the Fit in 10 Challenge, and I vow to make this video under 10 minutes, so here we go. All right, announcements. I have not put up the Calendly link yet. I'm going to do that tonight, okay, and I'll send out the link. So my apologies to you guys. It's coming, okay? I know it's Thursday here. We're going to run the scans, just as a reminder, we're going to run the scans from Monday to Wednesday, okay? Let's get right into some questions here. So, this person says, I can look to incrementally increase the weights lifted during my workouts. I haven't been tracking my maximums well, just by memory. So I will begin to take better notes and use those to ensure I'm not plateauing. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess you need notes to know if you're plateauing in weight. But listen, you shouldn't really be plateauing. It's so early on right now. You're going to keep climbing. I mean, right now is the time where you guys get spoiled. You see results. Well, this is for those of you who are new to training. This is where you're going to see results for quite some time, even like just doing something basic, which is what we're doing. We're doing something very basic here. So I wouldn't worry about plateauing, but we do want to keep track just to see what's happening for sure. My suggestion to you is to use a journal, but you know, on a side note, for our classes in general, we are going to start to put all the major movements up on the wall with your names and percentages. That's right, that's what we're going to do. So that is coming. So that will help you guys. I think it'll also motivate you guys that much more. Okay, in your experience, what are some indicators you use to measure your progress? Okay. Well, it depends on what I'm looking for at the time, all right? So for me, progress has meant more often than not physique enhancement. So just refining my physique, making it better as a bodybuilder. Even though I'm not competing anymore, I still enjoy that aspect. I still enjoy seeing my body improving and becoming, you know, still evolving. All right, now I'm not looking for as much size as what I used to. I'm looking for more quality and refinement, so that's what I'm going to do. And I won't lie, I am toying in the back of my mind of potentially doing one last hurrah of a show in the future, especially as a Masters, because I just turned 40 this year, so that might happen. So anyways, I digress. I don't want to talk too much about myself. So for me, when I measure my progress, I'm looking at photos, to be honest with you, photos and in the mirror, as vain as that sounds. But I am trying to look at this from a very objective standpoint. I also do body fat scans just as a something kind of fun to do. But the problem with body fat scans is that they can vary day to day. Okay, it can vary based on your water. It doesn't matter whether you're doing DEXA scan or you're doing bioelectrical impedance, which is what we do, or you're doing calipers or whatever. There's always going to be some variance. There's always going to be some variance, okay? Even if you do one scan after the other. And again, it doesn't matter what measurement you use, unless you do hydrostatic weighing. Hydrostatic weighing would probably be the most accurate, but that's like, you gotta go to university lab to do that. So that's what I use, but you can use, in terms of where you're at right now, obviously we're looking at fat loss for you guys, because that was obviously the goal of this, so we're gonna see that with your scans. Now, but in terms of in the gym and your weights, you're going to see your strength climb up, all right? So this is one good indicator, but you know, we can actually get stronger at a movement and not move the weight up, and how is that? Well, you know, we can do things like increase the volume or increase the reps. You know, so if you could do something for 8 reps and now you can do it for 9 or 10, then obviously you are stronger. But also you may want to think about looking at your form. So you guys are going to get better at these movements. Your range of motion is going to get better. Your control is going to get better. Your mechanics are going to get better. And what that means is you're going to be able to load the muscle more. And because you're loading the muscle more, and let's say your reps are staying the same, but you're loading the muscle more, then technically that muscle has gotten stronger. Okay, so there are many ways to look at improving. Of course, it's always nice to see numbers move up, but you know, you guys are going to see a little bit of both of this. So you're going to see your, you know, your ability to do the movement is going to improve. So that's progress in and of itself, and that's probably one of the most important, because this is what allows you to target your musculature, right? is having proper mechanics. If you are always doing something wrong or not really maximizing the movement, then you're never going to get what you could out of it, right? So, you know, every time I train and I'm doing a movement and I'm just really trying to make that connection, I'm trying to think, how can I, is there a way I can make this better? Can I get more out of it? So, you know, that's what I do. But in your case, to make this very simple, let's think about just trying to incrementally lift more weight, and that will happen. Okay, from various ways. I mean, you're putting on muscle mass, you're hypertrophying the fiber. The fibers are getting bigger. You're also creating more nerve innervations to the muscles. You're also learning how to send a more efficient signal and a better force signal through your peripheral nervous system. Okay, from your central nervous system to your peripheral nervous system. So all these things are getting, you know, are improving for you. Okay, so you will not plateau. Okay, you definitely will not plateau at 5 weeks in, okay? You should continue to really improve for at least 6 months. This person says, I feel like I'm plateauing a bit, so I'm wondering what I can look for as a sign of progress. Okay, so I just talked about that. Lifting more weight is one indicator from one workout to the next, but what are others that you use? Okay, so I just obviously talked about that. So there you go. All right, now I want to talk about bread because people have asked me about bread. This is from my freezer. I just pulled it out. You can see that there's not really much in here, and God knows this is probably 6 months old. I rarely eat bread. When I do, it's typically on my cheat day, and my cheat day usually involves Chipotle, right? I usually go and get 2 or 3 burritos, and that's obviously bready because I have the wrap. And so people think there's a big difference between different breads, and there is to some degree. But, you know, the biggest difference is really, you know, the type of carbohydrate base that they're going to use. So whether you're using, you know, sprouted wheat or flour, white flour, whole wheat flour, whatnot. So, you know, really what it boils down to is how much, let's leave the micronutrients out of it, the vitamins, the minerals. Let's just talk about the fiber. So the biggest difference that you're going to notice between, like, you know, a French bread or perhaps an artesian bread and, or any of these sort of more exotic breads that are you know, really produced for better taste, and something that is more health-based, like this. This is Sprouted Power. This is by Silver Hills. They make the swirly bread. This is the Big 16, they call it. This is very high in fiber and a little bit higher in protein, and higher in micronutrients as well. So what you're going to get from this is just basically a lower influx of the sugar into your bloodstream because it's more fiber-based, and fiber slows down the release of sugar. Okay, the reason why white bread is so bad is because, generally speaking, it is a little more carb dense per slice, but not by much, maybe a few grams. But it's the way, because it doesn't have any fiber, it's been stripped of its fiber content, and also its, so what do they call it? It's basically just pure, I'm forgetting the terminology right now, but there's basically, you know, 3 parts to it, okay, and 2 of them are removed. So you're losing the micronutrients and you're losing the fiber. So when you have the fiber in there, you're going to slow the release of the sugar into the bloodstream. Okay, and that's you know, really important. But if you have white bread and you add protein, okay, and then maybe you add some fiber source to it, like you're putting some, like, avocado in it or whatever, and then maybe you're adding some fats, okay, well, that would be part of the avocado as well. Then you're changing the rate at which that bread is breaking down. So that white bread is now becoming not really a white bread anymore, even though it is white bread. But you are slowing down the release in the bloodstream, so it doesn't have the same effects as white bread on its own, okay? So, you know, like, there's not a drastic difference. There is a difference between the 2 breads if you eat them alone, is my point, okay? But when you start mixing it, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, okay? Because, I mean, it depends on what you mix it with, but I always tell you guys, you're going to add protein, you're going to add fiber, you're going to add fat to all your meals, right? Like, all your meals are, like, you try to have a balanced meal. And so that's going to release or slow down the release of the sugar. So listen, if you're having white bread, although I don't encourage it because we want to have, like, more nutrient dense food, I would rather you be getting more fiber. I'd rather you getting more of the micronutrients, right? So, like, in bread, you know, when they remove some of the nutrition, They're removing things like magnesium and zinc and a lot of the B vitamins. Some of them get fortified back in, and of course the fiber. So, you know, I want to encourage you to get as much of that as possible. So you're going to get that with bread like this, right? I actually like to taste this bread better too. But you can have white bread, really. I mean, if you're mixing it with other stuff, it's really, like I said, what it boils down to is when you're having it by itself. Okay? Oh man, I'm over 10 minutes. Okay, listen, here's the message of the day. Don't slack, attack. Don't slack, attack, all right? And what I mean by that is like when you go in there and you push weights, you have to attack the weight. And so usually what I tell people is don't like respond to the weight. Pedal to the metal when you do the reps, meaning you put everything into it, meaning you maximize the force output on every rep that you do. Okay, so you want to maximize the force output on every single rep that you do. This is really, really, really important, okay? So when you go into weight training, you have to like think about like priming your body and getting it ready to really take advantage and you know, put in the most effort, right? Like really push the weight until you are fully fatigued. And this is one thing that people have a hard time understanding. So quite often after weight training, they're like, you know, somebody finishes a set, and I actually dealt with this in my class this morning at 5 a.m. and they're just like, they're not really breathing. Like they're just like this. And I'm like, guys, how can you not be out of breath doing a 15 rep max stiff-legged deadlift with dumbbells? Like you should be gassed, because that's how you push yourself, right? And I know it's still new to you guys, but I want to start to put that in your mind. Like you have to put everything into it. You have to engage everything. You have to, you know, really grind it out, make the muscles work, you know, maximize your form. You're putting so much energy into every rep, right? That's important. That is so important, okay? And that takes a set from being, you know, 30% of what it could be to 100%, okay? All right, I said enough. So submit, commit, do what you have to do. Man, this is over. It's already 12 minutes. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow, okay? Calendly link is coming. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful night.